Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Actually, it shouldn't be good morning. It should be good evening, good afternoon, good morning, because right now it's in the evening. So I'm assuming that you're gonna see this video when it's in the morning, the afternoon, whatever time you're watching it. And it's that time of the year. It's the Thursday of the third week. So we're almost hitting the whole September. We are a half close to like 75% crossing the month. So it's been a very consistent month. I've been making videos, I've been doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm grateful. And I'm excited that things are going to the right direction. And I hope that tomorrow I will be able to get an internship. So I've been waking up early in the morning, which is positive. I've been waking up at 6. At first it was 7:30. Now I wake up at 7:25, take shower, get some breakfast, and then check my email, my phone, my LinkedIn, and everything. Then dress and catch the bus. The bus is very slow, which is why I don't want to live here, because I have to switch between 3 buses. And whenever I take like those 3 buses, they both are very slow. They don't really come on time. I'm not sure why, but I think it has to do with the availability of the drivers, which makes things much more complicated. But overall, it's a positive thing. It's a great thing, and I've been excited about this journey. So anyway, today, as I was working on my code, because I have to do some coding with my data and data analysis, I was watching a webinar with HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and they were having a webinar discussing about things that are happening in the United States, and how this was kind of interesting on how they've been doing research on how the affordability of homes in the United States has been so much harder. And the HUD, or Housing and Urban Development, is supposed to be helping people who have low income, the low income families, help them sort of afford to buy homes. So if you are a single person but you only have one income, you can qualify to get some assistance from the government through housing and urban development, then purchase a home. Now, a week earlier, so like this, like last week, one of the economists from at Redfin is like a company that sells homes and does real estate development in the United States. She's a researcher, and she mentioned how the single moms and single parents, especially black parents, they have a hard time affording homes. Now, my argument was, I thought this was like a sort of a joke, or sort of a, like a way to divide families. But this is a real thing. This is happening. It's happening, the fact that families that are single, they are forced to stay single so they can qualify for a home, making it harder for them to basically get married. So there's this research of today that was presented today. The statistics, the findings was basically showing that more and more Americans are shifting away from marriage and family, because once they get married, they lose the benefits. They cannot get assistance from the government. But why? Well, the reason is because when two people are married, right, they join the income, and when there's two incomes instead of one, right, the government treats that income as higher. However, in reality, that income is not enough to afford a home. So imagine somebody is 30 years old and they have 5 children, so need a big home. If they were to stay single, the government will count only the single household income. So let's say $40,000, and the government gives a subsidy to purchase a home. Give the loans, build the new houses for these affordable houses for these families. So that is a good thing. But what what if there was another guy, another man in his 50s or his 40s, and he also has children, right? So let's say he also has 3 children. So 3 children, maybe 2 children. So yeah, 2 children plus one person, that's equivalent to 3. So plus the mother, about the total families of 5, 10 people. So now you have these two. If they were to get married, right, the single mom and the single dad, they will both have a family. They will both have 10 children. Those children need a big house, right? So like a reasonable 5-bedroom house. Assume each those children can share some houses, some rooms. With this in mind, the government is supposed to support these people much more, right? Supposed to give them support because they have less income. On a paper it might look like the guy, let's call him John, and the lady, let's call her Tanisha. Tanisha and John both make, I don't know, the average guy in America makes more money than female. So assume the man makes $50,000 and the woman makes $6,000, $4,000. Combine that income, the total will be about, let's say before taxes, she brings in home $30,000, and the guy brings home let's say $40,000. The combined that would be $70,000 total, the whole salary for 2 people. If those people were single, they could just buy a condo. They can get a condo. They can qualify for a loan. It's easy. It's much easier. But if these people were poor, right? If these people had children, right? 8 children in total, they would need a big house. And the government looks at the income and says, okay, you have the income of $70,000, right? After taxes, that's a lot of money. So you don't qualify for a house. You don't qualify for any subsidies. So these families, they say they get married and they find out that their income combined isn't all enough for them to get a home. So the choice they have is to separate, because if they separate, a woman, mostly women in America, they have a higher chance of qualifying, not even a higher chance, they have automatic chance of qualifying for a loan, sometimes a mortgage, sometimes a very subsidized price. So people in their early 40s and the people in their early 50s, there are some people who are in their also early 20s who have children, multiple children, but this is very rare. It doesn't happen as much. As younger generation doesn't really have too many kids. Those who do, they are very few in number. So if you have to run statistics, we will see that by gender, by age, people tend to have multiple children in their early 30s, late 40s and 50s. So these people are limited to get married, and there's an implication here. When people are not married and they don't join the income, consumption gets affected. Because when 2 people are working in a family, they consume, they go out, they use more electricity, they use more water, they are more likely to put their kids in school because one person can stay home, one person go to work. They are more likely to buy more food, right? They are more likely to share ideas, right? Promote the community and the society. And they are also 99.9% chance they are more likely to raise their children to be better, right? Because they have a parent. So with financial incentives, with financial burden around incentives, but the burden being a key barrier in with finance being a key barrier in these 2 people getting married, the possibility of seeing the cycle of 1970s of children not growing up without kids is much higher. And so these are the things that they discussed today, and they had a couple of people come on stage. I was watching on a webinar, but it was in DC, so I could have gone to DC, but I don't want to go to DC downtown, so I was in school. But this study, they brought some people who had personal experience, and they were raised in single family homes, and they just could not get what they needed. They couldn't go to school, they couldn't get education. It was a lot of story that was shared, and the question is, how do we ensure that families are married and they're also able to get incentivized. United States for years has been focusing on supporting families that are married, especially when it comes to taxes, child support. They have kind of deviated from supporting people who are married to supporting people who are single. The economics of this is affecting the country, making it harder. So when people can't afford homes, what do? They give up, they stop working. There's no way somebody who's single can have children, take them to school, and then have to get a mortgage. Even if they were subsidized, this still will be harder to get a mortgage, and whatever other things they need, like food and all that stuff. So what I was doing yesterday, studying the research on giving money or conditional and unconditional cash transfer. So the issues like this. Can you give people money without expecting them to get married? Can you give people money and control them? How likely are you gonna give single moms cheaper subsidized homes, and then I expect them, how likely are they going to actually build a relationship? Because we are assuming that the reason why there is no relationship is because of the financial burden, and when two people are working and they are not getting the results, the financial burden becomes a big problem. But when they separate, but we assume that the financial burden goes down. But is that actually true? Is it real? Well, the research says so. I guess it's based on a survey. But like when I'm doing this video, it makes me talk about these things. But if I was to just sleep, know what about it, I couldn't have been able to go much deeper. But these are concerns. These are the things that the policymakers trying to discuss, the economists trying to fix, the financial companies, banks and mortgage supplier, loan supplier are trying to fix, because construct the real estate, because I'm into real estate. Real estate, you need to ensure that people are buying their homes. But how do you sell homes if your customers cannot afford them? But you are everything that you are spending money, because you are building a house. There is cost of materials, there's a cost of land, there's cost of labor, there's a cost that goes into taxes, right? And all of the cost that goes into legal system and permits, and all of that some goes to the government, some goes to private individuals, right? Then you're trying to figure out, how do you make people buy your home? You're not supposed to think about that, but it becomes a problem in America, where you can build a business, you can build a software in America, and the software is in high demand. Everybody wants it, but nobody can afford it. And I start to think, how can somebody afford it? So the issues like that, they deserve some attention, and part of what I'm not gonna be doing, but I'm gonna be looking into, hopefully that I can do this in my future, because I can do these things for free. I hope that those things I will be able to find some problems and do something about it. So That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Like always, take care. Like always, have a good time. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.